I say, who's the master? You say, Sho'Nuff.
Have you ever wondered why one of the biggest cult martial arts movies of the 1980s never got a sequel? Think about it for a second. The Last Dragon wasn't some forgotten box office flop that disappeared after opening weekend. When it hit theaters in 1985, the film earned roughly $33 million against a budget of around $10 million. Critics weren't exactly impressed, but audiences were. Over the years, VHS tapes, HBO, cable television, and word of mouth transformed it into one of the most beloved martial arts films ever made. Even today, nearly 40 years later, people still quote Sho'Nuff. People still dress up as Bruce Leroy. Parents who grew up watching the movie are now introducing it to their own kids. So why didn't Hollywood ever make The Last Dragon 2? The answer is far more complicated than most fans realize. And according to star Taimak, the sequel almost happened. In fact, there was a time when it looked like he was about to become Hollywood's next big action star. But then everything changed. After The Last Dragon became a financial success, Taimak's life changed almost overnight. Just months earlier, he was a young martial artist from New York trying to find his place in the entertainment world. Now he was starring in one of the hottest martial arts movies in America. Berry Gordy, the legendary founder of Motown Records and one of the producers behind The Last Dragon, took a personal interest in him. Taimak has spoken many times about how Gordy welcomed him into Hollywood. He invited him to exclusive events, introduced him to people in the industry, even let him borrow a Mercedes to drive around Los Angeles. Imagine being a teenager from New York, then suddenly finding yourself cruising through Hollywood in a luxury car. Taimak even remembered visiting the Playboy Mansion during that time. It all felt surreal. For a young actor who had never experienced Hollywood before, it probably seemed like the dream was just beginning. And honestly, it looked like it was. Because behind the scenes, there were already discussions about making more movies. Here's something a lot of fans don't know. Berry Gordy reportedly saw enormous potential in Taimak. The plan wasn't simply to make one successful movie and move on. The idea was to build a star. And for a while, everything seemed to be moving in that direction. But while Taimak's future looked bright, the movie itself was becoming something nobody expected. When The Last Dragon first arrived in theaters, it received mixed reviews from critics. Some thought it was too over the top. Others didn't know what to make of a movie that blended martial arts, comedy, music, romance, and Motown into one story, but audiences didn't care. They loved it. Sho'Nuff became one of the greatest movie villains ever created. Laura Charles became unforgettable. Bruce Leroy became a hero people genuinely rooted for. And perhaps most importantly, the movie carried a message that reached far beyond martial arts. Years later, Taimak explained that The Last Dragon wasn't really about fighting. It was about discovering the power that's already inside you. As he puts it, the master is within. That simple message connected with people. It inspired kids to start martial arts. Some fans even told Taimak they opened their own karate schools because of the movie. That's the kind of impact most films never achieve. But while audiences were falling in love with The Last Dragon, another story was unfolding behind the scenes, one that would eventually change everything. Not long after the movie's release, Taimak was called back to Los Angeles. According to him, the purpose of the trip was to discuss new contracts. This was the moment, the opportunity every young actor dreams about, the chance to build an entire career. Before the meeting, Berry Gordy had assured him he would be there. That mattered, because by this point, Taimak believed Gordy genuinely believed in him. He trusted him. So he flew to California expecting to sit down with the man who had helped launch his career. Instead, Berry Gordy never showed up. Think about that for a second. You're young. You've just starred in a hit movie. You're expecting one of the biggest names in entertainment. And suddenly, he's not there. Instead, Taimak says he found himself sitting across from Motown executive Suzanne DePass and attorneys reviewing a contract. What happened next stayed with him for decades. According to Taimak, the meeting quickly became uncomfortable. He says he was told he wasn't worth what was being offered, that he wasn't a big star. Imagine hearing that after carrying one of the biggest martial art films of the year. Taimak has admitted that the experience left him shocked, even heartbroken. Then came another surprise. His attorney looked over the contract and warned him that if future movies became successful, there was little opportunity for him to share in that success financially. The deal simply wasn't as good as it first appeared. Now imagine being barely 20 years old, trying to make one of the biggest decisions of your entire life. Do you trust the people offering the contract or the attorney sitting beside you? That's an impossible decision for almost anyone, especially someone just entering Hollywood. In the end, Taimak decided not to sign, and according to him, that decision changed everything. Walking away from that contract didn't just affect one movie. According to Taimak, it changed the entire direction of his career. In later interviews, he explained that after refusing to sign, Berry Gordy never spoke to him again. Taimak has never claimed to hate Gordy over what happened. In fact, he says he's forgiven everyone involved and doesn't hold grudges. Looking back, he simply sees it as the reality of the entertainment business. But whether anyone intended it or not, the momentum behind The Last Dragon seemed to disappear almost overnight. Think about it. You have a movie that made money. Fans loved it. The main character was popular, the villain became an icon, and yet there was no sequel. Instead of becoming Hollywood's next martial arts superstar, Taimak found himself trying to rebuild his career from the ground up. He modeled, he taught martial arts, he appeared in commercials and independent films. He did whatever he had to do to keep moving forward. Years later, he admitted something that really stuck with me. He said, once you have talent and passion, anything is possible, but you also need the right people around you. That's a lesson that goes far beyond Hollywood. Sometimes success isn't just about talent. Sometimes it's about timing. Sometimes it's about the people making decisions behind closed doors. And sometimes one meeting can change everything. But Taimak wasn't the only person whose life changed after The Last Dragon. The cast would go on to experience very different journeys. Julius Carry, the man who brought Sho'Nuff to life, continued acting for years after the movie. He appeared in television shows like Boy Meets World, Family Matters, Murphy Brown, and The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. Ironically, Julius once said that Briscoe County was actually his favorite role, not Sho'Nuff, but fans never forgot who he was. To them, he would always be the self-proclaimed Shogun of Harlem. Sadly, Julius Carry passed away in 2008 after battling pancreatic cancer. He was only 56 years old. Then there was Vanity. Before The Last Dragon, she was already a rising star thanks to Prince and Vanity 6. Her beauty and charisma made her the perfect choice to play Laura Charles. In fact, Taimak has shared that Berry Gordy asked for his opinion during the casting process, and he believed Vanity had the charisma the role needed. The two even spent time together before filming began. Years later, Taimak reflected on those memories with sadness. He said he could already see how difficult Hollywood could be for someone so young. Sadly, Vanity struggled with addiction during the years that followed. Eventually, she turned her life around, became a born-again Christian, and dedicated herself to her faith. She passed away in 2016 from complications related to kidney failure. Then there's Leo O'Brien, who played Bruce Leroy's younger brother, Richie. His performance brought so much heart and humor to the film. Tragically, Leo was shot in 2011. He initially survived the attack but died the following year at just 41 years old. When you look back today, it's hard not to feel emotional. Several of the people who helped make this movie unforgettable are no longer with us, and yet their work refuses to fade away. Maybe that's because The Last Dragon was never just another martial arts movie. It blended action, comedy, music, romance, and fantasy into something completely unique. It celebrated confidence without arrogance, strength without cruelty, and above all, it reminded people that the greatest power doesn't come from a punch. It comes from believing in yourself. That's exactly what Taimak still talks about today. Nearly 40 years later, he says, the legacy of The Last Dragon isn't measured by box office numbers. It's measured by the people whose lives it changed. Fans tell him they started martial arts because of the movie. Some opened karate schools. Others introduced the film to their children, and now even their grandchildren. Think about that for a second. How many movies from 1985 are still creating new fans today? Not many. And here's the part that surprised me the most. Despite everything that happened, despite the contract dispute, despite the years that passed, Taimak says he would still be open to making another Last Dragon movie. He doesn't hold grudges. He says he hopes for the fans that some kind of follow-up could still happen. Whether Hollywood ever decides chance to make that sequel is anyone's guess, but maybe that's not the point anymore. Because over the last 4 decades, The Last Dragon accomplished something very few movies ever do. It became timeless. It didn't need endless sequels. It didn't need a cinematic universe. It didn't need reboots every few years. All it needed was one unforgettable hero, one unforgettable villain, and one message that still resonates today. The master isn't somewhere else. The master is already within you. Maybe that's why we're still talking about this movie nearly 40 years later. Not because it got a sequel, but because it never needed one to become a legend. If you enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments. And if there's another martial arts legend or classic action movie you'd like me to cover next, leave your suggestion below. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.